Welcome to the third installment of Why Am I Here and He Is Not? A father's journey to make sense of love, loss, and hope. My name is Larry Klopot, and I am that father on that journey. For most people who have or are experiencing the death of someone very close to them, the journey has no rest stops and is filled with emotional potholes. For me, that unwanted journey began just over a year ago when my son died 3 weeks before his 35th birthday, and just 4 weeks before his beautiful daughter's first birthday. Throughout this podcast, I'll be reading from a journal that I began a couple of weeks after his death. This is my story to tell, but it really is the story of great love and great loss. May 30th, 2024, 5:20 a.m. What if? 28 days and counting. Sleep ended hours ago for me. The movie of the second began playing as my eyes opened and hasn't stopped. I'm still playing the what if game in my head while the actual story unfolds in my brain. What if I didn't stop for a Gatorade? What if I said I couldn't drive him that morning? What if I didn't call for EMS? What if I got in the ambulance with him to try and calm him down? What if I was just there when he was screaming my name? What if I held his hand when he went out of this world? What if I wasn't mad at him in the car? The other what-ifs that dominate my everyday thinking are just as haunting to me. What if this all-encompassing sadness and guilt never gets lessened in intensity? What if my likely PTSD drives me crazier and crazier? What if Arlene heals and she loses her patience with me? What if I just give up getting back to normal relationship with friends and family and myself? Yesterday's breakdown in my office really scared me because the day was supposed to unfold as a positive and intellectually challenging return to a degree of normalcy. I had 2 long meetings scheduled with outside business colleagues. That was supposed to be followed by a meeting with my partner and staff to discuss an opportunity. I survived the first meeting. I sat through the second meeting in deep thought about Alex, and I left the third meeting abruptly. My office was a haven for me the past couple of weeks. Usually the walk to the office was a good way of distracting me, and the walk home was just hard enough to make me think of the strain and not focus just on the constant replay. Yesterday, the walk home was especially hard, and my thoughts were all over the what-ifs. The mantra of "it's only been X days" seemed trite and disingenuous whenever I tried to use it to overtake my thoughts with it. Over time, what if no one remembers him? What if no one honors his life? What if life gets back to normal and his life takes a backseat to the mundane events of the everyday world? Did all those hundreds of times watching him play hockey, did those fishing vacations, did the thousands of times I drove him to where he wanted to go, did those countless conversations about sports and music, did all those arguments, did all the times we were stressed about what he did or didn't do, did all the times we celebrated, did his visits with my mother bringing love and joy to her, did all his relationships really mean something or even happen if no one remembers them? That thought haunts me as well. It's impossible for me not to think that everything I did for him and with him was wrong and had the opposite effect of giving him a better life as he grew older. What if we did everything differently? What if 28 days ago never happened and I was thinking about him as a father instead of not being there to reap the rewards of parenthood? What if I run out of tears? What if I never run out of tears? What if, what if, what if? Words and questions that permeate my every moment. June 2nd, 2024, 7:45 a.m. I've been up for a while following what was become my morning habit. Wake up, look at the clock, look at my phone, half believing that there might be a message from him, thinking that I can fall asleep, but instead having thoughts of Alex flooding my brain. I lay there reliving so many moments of his life. I recalled vividly watching Alex play baseball with his elementary school team, play soccer at Eglinton Park on teams that I usually sponsored, hockey at St. Mike's, then Forest Hill. The years of loving the proud dad moments of his sports career. Lately, the moments of feeling good about those memories vanish in a second, as I always seem to follow good thoughts with a deeply, deeply sad thought that he is not there. He will never have those proud dad moments like I had. Why do I feel so guilty today that I had those moments, but he won't? It pains me to my very core. I hear myself silently screaming 1,000 times a day about how unfair this is, how my life's mission was stolen away, how I ache seeing Arlene so sad, and how he deserved a better life and a better end. What I feel most is the unrelenting loneliness, even when I am with people. The massive waves of sadness accompanied always with the visions of that day visiting me often, even when I'm distracted by being with people or doing something other than grieving. When I was with Arlene, that loneliness seems to transition to isolation. When we talk, go for walks, or just sit in the same room, I'm comforted by being together, and I'm acutely aware that we are now an island that no one we know feels the same way we do. Yesterday, on our after-dinner walk, now a quasi-regular habit, we talked and we cried and we agreed that we don't want to become people who can't revel in the joy that other people have for their kids, their lives, and their triumphs. But I think we both know that it will be a challenge to avoid that dark fate. I played my first full round of golf yesterday since that terrible day. The pleasure I always had being at my club, hitting the odd great shot, being with friends, and well, just being in the moment was not there. It felt mundane and routine. Even though I was playing relatively well for the first round of the year, I stopped counting my score. Something I always do is I've tracked every score, good and bad, on a spreadsheet since 2004. Good shots carried no sense of accomplishment as they used to. Bad shots were just accepted as inevitable. Thoughts of Alex came over me so many times, how he played, the fun we used to have matching shots at the driving range, how he loved certain clubs and hated others, and how we talked about how I played. I remembered with tears the first full round we played together at Scarlet Woods when he was so young. Guilt, pain, sadness, loss of my value, resistance to any thoughts of the future, isolation, loneliness, visions of my son dying, visions of my son dead are now an embedded part of my being. Feelings of happiness and joy are conspicuously absent. I want to talk to my son. June 3rd, 2024, 7 a.m. Once again, the morning came very early for me today. Try as I might, falling back to sleep from 4:30 until I got out of bed at 6:30 was a futile exercise. My thoughts seemed to take over, and despite my tiredness, they flood my consciousness to the point of overflowing. I just don't know how to compartmentalize the good from the bad. I clearly see that day. I vividly see him moments after he passed on the gurney. I feel the feelings I had when I had to call Arlene. I try to remember the elation of the day before when he was the happiest I had seen him in a long time. I recall so much of the good things we experienced in his life. All this in some kind of cerebral montage that also includes some of the worst days we went through in his life. Why does the bad shit, particularly of the second, dominate when I so want the positive memories to be the first up? Yesterday, Arlene and I went to a Blue Jays game. It was one of the first normal things we've done together this month. We still had moments when we talked about him and his life, and the expected sadness and tears came. We also had fun moments, just two people going to a ball game. The realization that normal will never really be normal came when a promotion of some kind came on the jumbo screen. For a couple of seconds, a scene from the movie The Jungle Book appeared. I was as pained as I could be when I immediately looked at Arlene, who was silently weeping. The movie was Alex's favorite when he was young, and we all must have watched it 1,000 times. I have now read through and have been counseled well by Pam to understand that all our reactions are normal in an abnormal circumstance. The truth is that we may intellectually know that, but it offers no real comfort. I've been asked several times what the triggers are. They're life. They're the most innocuous things. They are a bottle of Gatorade that was his favorite. They are 10 seconds of a clip of an old animated movie. They are everything, every day, all the time. Rita and Addie came over yesterday. Rita left for a while to do some shopping, and we took Addie to the park. Sounds idyllic. For the most part it was, but it still was so hard to look at the joy in her eyes and to feel the intense love we both have for her without thinking of what is missing now and for the rest of her life. But, it is missing and nothing will change that. So we need to help in every possible way to make sure she has a good life and that she knows love. Arlene said to me during the walk to the park that we are lucky, in fact blessed, that Addie is so comfortable with us. When she extends her arm to either of us to be picked up, the world seems okay, if just for a moment. June 6, 2024. This morning I am spent, body aches, head is foggy, and the spirit is not up to the task of facing the day. Bad sleep must have been the culprit today that is stealing my enthusiasm for the walk to work itself, planning the next steps for many things, and just plain staying awake. I've come to realize that sleep induced by sleep aids is just not good sleep for me. It doesn't stop the movie, doesn't stop the dreams and the visions. It slows my brain for all things except thoughts of Alex and of May 2nd. As time passes, my inner angst and stress does grow. Downstairs, there is 35 years of Alex's life to sort, sell, clean, cry over, and recall a lifetime of memories. We have barely scratched the surface so far. My work and company can no longer be pushed aside by the monstrous loss we have suffered. Everyday life wasn't put on hold. It was ignored. We will pay the price for that. Perhaps it's not the day to really start paying for it. Even my once-a-day shot of caffeine is not pushing me forward. These feelings and my general disposition actually surprised me today. I know I would face the morning onslaught of memories and sadness, but I thought that maybe, just maybe, last night would help me minimize all that. It hasn't. Last night, though, was like a shot of a magic elixir that allowed Arlene and me to be in the present, even when talking about our life since and because of the loss of Alex. Having dinner with and spending relaxed time with close friends who were there for us was a long overdue prescription to feel good while still remembering. There were moments that I had and that I saw Arlene go through that had tears on the brink of making their entrance. Those moments were few, but the banter, the laughs, the storytelling, the talking over each other, the laughs, there was enough for me to mention it twice, and the open-air dinner were what the evening was all about. It was like getting an evening-long hug from loving, compassionate, caring, understanding, dear, lifelong friends. It was appreciated. Reality, unfortunately, has a nasty habit of never being far away. It just seemed a little less in our face during and after the evening. Before bed, we sat on the back deck for a little bit talking about the things we needed to do, calls we needed to make, problems we needed to solve, all the while feeling that the air felt a tiny bit lighter because of the previous few hours. Then the inevitable happened. Getting into bed and waiting to fall asleep still had a barrage of bad feelings, uneasiness, and the usual guilt and sadness that comes on with a vengeance. Movie played, soundtrack had its volume up, and the what-ifs were all over the place. Now let's see what this day will bring. June 22nd, 2024, 6:30 a.m. Can't shake the feeling. Woke up early again after several interrupted deep sleeps, none that lasted more than a couple of hours. There's so much on my mind that it does not stop working overtime. Sometimes I think it will just get to overload stage and shut down. I just don't know if I have the capacity anymore to have so many buckets of stress, angst, and sorrow working at the same time. The feeling of isolation and loneliness does increase often, even when I'm with others or planning to be with others. The burden of all the stuff downstairs that needs to be dealt with is huge. The weight of my business shortfalls and diminished revenue sits on my shoulders. Seeing Arlene as stressed as I think I have ever seen her damages my soul. It pains me that little by little she is shutting me out without realizing it as she tries to deal alone with all that is going on. I feel remarkably selfish that I think I am not getting enough TLC because of all the plates that we are spinning. I did think that the episode of intense wailing and uncontrollable crying were following the pattern that people told me they would. There were less of them, without a doubt. However, a close friend of Alex's, the guy who was with him the day before that day, who was there with me on the 2nd, and who Alex was making music and videos with, texted me a couple of nights ago. I was already in bed when the phone pinged, and I saw a long message from him. I could feel his pain as he explained that he can't move past Alex's death. He thought he was failing Arlene and I by not coming to see us because he would break down when he saw us. He told of how he aches realizing that we lost our child and he lost his brother, who saved him from falling into the depths of self-destruction. I responded to him with the best words of comfort and understanding that I could muster. I then went into convulsing fits of heavy crying. I felt the same overwhelming sadness I felt before, but this also seemed slightly different. I think because I was deeply feeling his pain and sorrow. It made me question our plan to have family and friends over on Sunday to give them each one of Alex's hats. I didn't question the gesture. I questioned my ability to get through it. That probably goes more to my lifelong struggle with opening up the kimono to my feelings in front of others. I have long learned that showing my vulnerability in public was not acceptable for me. It is now several hours later. I played a round of golf with a good friend, and we talked about the crap we usually talk about during a round. We laughed and poked fun at each other. At one point, the owner of the club, who I've known well for 22 years and consider a friend, came over to express his condolences and gave me a hug. I was touched and a bit choked up. The day seemed all good to me until my drive home in traffic. Wave after wave after wave came over me. I thought about all the driving range days I had with Alex. I thought about how I will feel tomorrow when his friends are over to take some of Alex's memories home with them. I thought about one of the times the club owner, who was also the pro, taught Alex a few things on the driving range. I thought about all the people I have been exposed to through the Facebook group for parents who have lost children. I thought about many of their stories with the understanding of how they feel. I just thought and thought before, during, and after each wave. I realize now that I'm tired. I am lost. I feel alone a lot. I miss him more every day. I get through the days by just getting through the day. I suppose that's the best I can hope for now. June 24th, 2024. Those hats. I woke up today and spent several minutes trying to get my bearings. What day was it? What do I have to do today? When is the next Alex event? Then all my sleep aids seemed to leave my mind and body, and I just lay there as usual, fighting back another wave, which is impossible. When they come, it's like a force of nature that needs to come and go as it pleases. I did struggle with my thoughts and the visions of Alex that were so clear that they seemed almost real. I saw him wearing the hats we gave to family and friends yesterday. Up until yesterday, the scores and scores of hats were just his. Now they're gone and are with family and friends. They were a reminder of one of his lifelong obsessions, one that was innocuous but also quite endearing. They were him. This morning, my mind raced, and the movie of that day took a back seat to the slideshow of him wearing every one of those hats. Now they will be in the hands of people he knew and loved in many different ways. He did have the capacity to love in so many varied ways and to so many different kinds of people. I wish I knew more about that when he was alive. The arrangements to have family and friends come over to pick a hat seemed like such a good idea. Everyone would have a little piece of what made him him. How could the result be so emotional for Arlene and me? We didn't feel Alex's essence leave the house when we gave away or sold other things like his dishwasher or his blender. We don't feel pangs of loss when we now use his soda stream, another early obsession of his. But this weekend was different. For months before the 2nd, Alex tried to sell his rarely used PSS VR system because it made him sick using it and he wanted the money. This past weekend, we did sell it. Arlene let me know that it was gone when I was leaving the golf club. That triggered a weeping session that lasted most of the way home in traffic. There now seemed to be another dimension of the reality of his absence. Then came the hats. Piling them up, arranging them for everyone to see and select, putting some away for those that could not make it that day, all went okay. Just another part of the cleaning up and cleaning out his life downstairs. As the day went on, and I saw certain hats in the hands of others, memories filled my brain. I kept thinking, I remember when he got that one, or I remember commenting on that one to him, or I always loved that one on him. It all hit home when one of his cousins started crying and saying she couldn't pick one because he wasn't there to give it to her, and now he's gone forever. We all assured her that he would want her to have one, but inside I was torn apart because she was right. I guess I both wanted the normalcy of the day and resented it at the same time. For the most part, everyone just chatted and laughed and went about their time here as if we had asked them over for an afternoon get-together. I know everyone felt appreciative of our gesture, but I realized it was a piece of him that we were giving away. Our emotional grounding for the day was again a small, oblivious bundle of pure happiness. Addie was the center of attention, and having Rita and her over always, always, always warms our heart. I see the joy in Arlene's face whenever she holds her, feeds her, which she is very Bubby-like trying to do all of the time, and plays with her. Addie seems to revel in the attention from everyone. When she smiles, we forget for just a second that her dad will never see that smile. How is that fair or real? Right now, as tears are pouring down my face, I want to scream at someone or something about how this shouldn't be and how much pain is inside of me. As the day went on, my heart broke even more when I saw the toll it was taking on Arlene. It hurts me so much because I can't give her the peace she deserves. I can't take away her pain and sorrow. I can't take back that day. At bedtime, we stood together and hugged in silence, knowing the pain we both share and carry. We knew they were all not just hats. Thanks for listening to me as I read and relive the early days after Alex left us. It's nearly impossible during those days to imagine what life would be like as more and more time passed. As you will hear as I continue to read some selections from my journal, my sense of loss didn't change, but what did change was my need to talk about Alex, his life, his legacy, even through my pain and through my confusion. Until next time.